So we're doing our Engineering 11 PCB lab right now. We're doing a soldering lab as well. So right here we can see that we have, I believe it's 5 different components. We have LEDs, which in a physical component should look like this, just different colors. So we have green, blue, and red. Next we have resistors that go in between each LED. Each LED should have their own resistor. So a resistor looks like this. Next we have, where are the diodes? I don't have diodes right now, but on a board that I already soldered, diodes look like this. And they will follow the same orientation where they have a little band right there, and they just follow the band on an unsoldered board. Next we have buttons that will activate each row of LEDs. And lastly we have 2 different holes to represent power and ground. So looking at an unsoldered board right now, we have these little symbols that are the LEDs, and you can see that one side is cut off and one side is rounded. If we were to look at an LED, we could see that one of them has a longer leg and one of them has a shorter leg. We could connect this cut off side to the negative side of the LED, which will represent the shorter leg of the LED. So when placing it in, we take the longer leg, put it onto the rounded side, and we take the shorter side and put it into the half circle cutoff side. So when placing the LED, we can see that it has little stoppers right here, and that allows it, that's what basically makes the connection. So that has to be touching the board, and that's what has to be soldered down to make that connection and let that LED get power. The next thing I want to talk about is the buttons right here, because there's something really important about these buttons, specifically with this little square right here. So with a button, it works diagonally. So if you were to put power into this square right here, its output would be its diagonal partner. Same thing with this one. If you were to put power into this one, its diagonal partner would be its output. One thing about these buttons is they have little text on them, like little embroidered text, if you could see that. What you could do is if you could read that text, flip the button directly around. This top left pin represents pin 1. And on an unsoldered board, that square represents pin 1. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have the button lined up properly. And put pin 1 into that square. And you could snap it in. And then, of course, you could solder the back. And it'll make the connection, and that button will be properly connected. So just as an example of some soldering, I could take a resistor. I could bend, let me grab another one. We could bend it so that it has straight legs, but it could fit into the holes, so it looks like this. We could grab our board, and for resistors it doesn't matter which way it goes in, they're non-polar, so you could put them in this way, you could put them in that way, it does not matter. So we could slide those into there, that into there, and it gets a little hard because the legs are really sensitive, so they'll bend really easy. So the way that I found to put the resistor in easy is to grab some pliers, grab both of the legs, push down on this little head of the resistor and pull down while you're doing it, and that allows it to sit down on the board pretty easily. Another thing you could do is once it's fully sat down, you could bend the pins to set it in place so it does not move when you like shake it or like move the resistor. Now you can see that it just doesn't move. We could plug it, or we could bound it up here. We could grab our soldering iron and our solder. What you would want to do is you want to put the solder onto the hole which you want to solder, so it's these 2 down here. We could just tap the solder down there, use the heated iron to melt it down, and as long as you could see that that hole has been filled compared to a non-hole, that connection is made. So now that is completely soldered down. Once you do it to the other side, that's completely soldered down, and now that resistor is fully connected. So after that, you could undo your board, and you could make it look a little bit nice, bend the pins back up, and you could snip them off. And that's a fully installed resistor. And you could just rinse and repeat for everything, Just make sure you watch orientation of your LEDs, diodes, and buttons, and of course your power source. Resistors are the only things that don't matter about orientation. You can plug them in no matter what. Other than that, you would just hook up power into it, which we have a little 9-volt battery connector, which will solder these 2 pins into these holes. Connect this into a 9-volt battery, and it should be able to power based on these button inputs. And that should be all.